welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, where hunters new and old come to learn and find inspiration from stories of hunts gone by. Everyone is welcome to enjoy the outdoor way of life, and there is no better time to start than right now. So let's head into the great outdoors with your host, Dylan Ray.
All right, guys, thank you for joining us today on Bear Archery's Hunting 101. Joining me is Mr. Ryan Schutz, Chris Parrish, and John Lene from Bear Archery. Guys, how are you?
Great.
Doing great.
Doing great, man. How are you?
I am absolutely better than I deserve, and I'm excited because this is, for any kind of bow hunter, this is the greatest time of year, is when products start getting released. So what we're going to do today, and I'll let these guys introduce themselves, and you guys are familiar with Ryan and Chris. They've been on before, but I'll give an introduction to John here in just a second. But what we're going to do here today is give you teasers for the new 2021 lineup from Bear Archery, Trophy Ridge, Bear X, Cajun Bow Fishing. Give you a teaser episode of all the new stuff coming out from every Escalade brand this year. And so for me, I know this is like the most exciting time of year. Companies are putting out their new bows, and we get excited. We go to shops and start shooting them and decide what's our favorite bow. But before we dive into all the teasers, Ryan and Chris are engineers at Bear, correct? Is that
product managers?
You guys are, that's your top product managers. They're official engineers.
We work with the team. Yeah, we work with the team of engineers that help us launch these wonderful products.
Very good. Now, again, you guys are familiar with both those guys, but John, you're a new voice to the podcast. You're a new face to the company. Might I say I am excited to see a new face. What is your role at Bear Archery, John?
I appreciate it, Dylan. I'm excited to be here as well. So I'm the new GM over the Bear brand. So I get to work with these guys just to continue to bring innovative products to the market, and I think lead the industry as they've already done. But I'm just excited to be here.
And we are excited to have you here. I'm excited to have you on the show. I've been told you would be a great personality to have on the show. So I've been trying to nail you down, and so I'm excited to have you on. So
awesome. Well, thank you.
Before we jump into all the good stuff that I'm here for and that you guys have tuned in for, I do want to give a quick thank you to our friends over at ScentLock. They're great friends of Bear Archery, great friends of the show here. They produce some of just the finest clothing that you can imagine, but also Oz by ScentLock is their ozone system, and it's just absolutely incredible. And their new Infuse product, I am just ecstatic about, and I'm going to get more into that product here. We're also, this episode is not only big because we're talking new products, but I'm also going to announce one of the largest giveaways I've ever been a part of. We're going to do a huge giveaway. And so I'll dive more into that Infuse here in just a little bit when we talk about that. But guys, go check out ScentLock. Go check out Oz by ScentLock. They are absolutely incredible. But let's dive in, and let's talk first and foremost what everybody's here for, Bear Archery. Let's talk about the new products coming out from Bear Archery. Ryan, give us a rundown on the new products that we can expect to see here in the upcoming weeks from Bear Archery.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So kind of as a whole, we have a huge amount of new products coming out. So COVID might have slowed some things down, but it didn't slow down product development. So we're very, very excited about that. So we've got compound bows coming out. In the Legend series, we have mainline bows coming out. We have some new variation to our very popular like RTH kits, so ready to hunt kits that are kind of industry first when it comes to being very complete. There's some, on the high end side, there's some really exciting vibration technology that we're putting out there that we're extremely excited about. And then one thing I've talked about on this podcast a couple different times is we work really hard to show a little bit of Fred Bear in everything we do. And we do it a little loudly this year in a couple of things. Some of the names that we use kind of call back to some of the old bows in the 70s and 80s, some of the things that got us started. So we're really excited with that. You know, it's pretty popular right now to make some of the old things new again, and technology definitely has allowed us to do that. A little bit of, some surprises to come. We did some surprise last year with our camo, putting a new spin and technology in it, and we weren't done last year. So some really exciting stuff there.
I believe a ton of bow hunters are just going to be incredibly, incredibly ecstatic about, because whether it was their grandpa's first bow, or whether it was your first bow, it's a name that has been thrown around with Bear Archery a ton, and it's a name that I was familiar with growing up. It was iconic in bow hunting when I was growing up, and so I'm excited to see this name come back. I think it'll be huge for bow hunters, whether you had one growing up or not. It's just kind of one of those iconic names in bow hunting. So I'm excited to see that revamped. One thing I'm excited about is the new olive color. There's a new olive finish coming for some of the bows, and I'm just ecstatic about that. One of my favorite finishes that Bear Archery has ever put out was the sand color. But I'm incredibly excited about that olive color. I like solid color bows, and so I'm excited to see that olive on some of the new bows this year.
Good. Yeah, we worked pretty hard on the color. So there's a couple other models out there that call their color olive. Ours is a little bit different than that. I mean, so there's so many color variations and so many different Pantones, and then of course it depends on how you're putting it onto the bow too, what type of process. So iron's been great for us the last couple of years, so we decided it was time to add a little bit more to it. And I love that you bring up the tan or the sand color. That lived pretty strong in the line for a couple of years also. So just trying to make the bows pop and look a little bit different. It's always nice when you have the talk of deer camp, right? That's our goal.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a good looking bow, man. I'll tell you that. Um,
I would say
so
what's also pretty fun to talk on bows, which I think Chris can hype this up pretty well, is staying on tying everything together, going back to Fred Bear. Some really cool traditional stuff happening. We've kind of been, a couple things here and there, but this year's pretty big traditional year, and lots of things the way that Fred used to do it. So I think.
Yep.
I know I got excited when I saw Chris's lineup.
now, before Chris dives into talking what we can expect from the traditional line, let me just say this about Bear Archery. This is what excites me about Bear Archery is new product launches are new product launches for everybody. And what I mean by that is, some other companies, when they put out new bows, they're going to put out two new flagship bows or something. And that gets grown men who have bow hunted their entire life really excited. But with Bear Archery's new catalog launch, they might put out new bows for my kids. They might put out a new bow for my wife. They might put out new traditional bows, new crossbows. So there's something for everybody to get excited about. And that's what I absolutely love. When I looked at these new products, I got excited because I already want to order my wife a new bow. I already want to get my kids a new bow. I already know what bow it's exciting because there's stuff throughout it for everybody, whether you're just beginning, whether you've been hunting your entire life, whether you want to try something new in traditional archery. There's something new in the Bear Archery catalog for everybody. And that's what I love about Bear Archery, and specifically the Bear Archery product launch, because there's something to get excited about no matter who you are, no matter what stage you're in bow hunting, no matter how big you are or how old you are. There's something to get excited about for everybody. Now, Chris, what can we expect to see from the traditional side of things?
Well, there's going to be some pretty exciting accessory items that we haven't had available as far as top notch, top quality, very good, priced right. So I'm pretty excited about that, just kind of revamping that. But the most exciting part that we have in traditional is we're going to kind of play off of what Ryan said earlier. We're bringing back something from the 70s that has not made its face known for a long, long, long time. And it's going to be the first production since the 70s in a metal style riser. So I think that that's going to be pretty exciting. I'm not going to let the cat completely out of the bag, but it's going to be a really exciting time for traditional. Another thing is, and we've got it on here, is last year we launched it already, but due to COVID, it kind of got itself handed to it because we just couldn't produce due to the lag times. But we brought out the 50th anniversary model in the takedowns last year, and they just took off. But because of production, we couldn't keep up. Being the shutdown with COVID, we couldn't keep up. But I think it's worth mentioning that that bow is still available, and it's iconic in itself because of the way the riser was built, the way the handle was built. It was it's built along exactly the same lines as the original takedown that Fred Bear put out in the early 70s in 69 and 70.
I think too, Chris, you got some exciting stuff happening in some wood. I don't want to say the type of wood, but we've got some partners out elk hunting right now and getting some wonderful photos back of some of our core bows being in this new wood. That's just, if you love the look of our wood or our kind of workmanship in the bows, it'll be an exciting year for you.
One of the prettiest woods ever seen on a bow, in my opinion. It is absolutely gorgeous. So I can already tell you right now, that's something my dad gets giddy about right there. So if you're a guy who loves, like my dad, who loves beautiful wood on bows and the craftsmanship on bows, this wood that's going to come out on these new traditional bows is just absolutely gorgeous. John, what bow are you shooting this right now?
So I've got a status right now. I'm super excited about that bow. Actually just got it set up the other day. So I've been here a very short amount of time, but playing with that bow and then also just kind of messing with some of the stuff that's in the office on the new brand. And I will say, touching on something you said, Dylan, two things that really got me excited about this job when I came in was one that, there's no bigger name in terms of a legendary piece of archery as Fred Bear. And I've been fortunate to work for some really outstanding brands and some legends in this industry, but I'm not sure there's any bigger than that Fred Bear name. But I think the big thing that you touched on was the fact that, we've got a solution for everybody. And I don't know that there's anything else out there in this industry, as a father with 3 kids and a wife, that whether it's high-end, crossbow, whether it's handicap or just your choice to shoot a crossbow, youth and recreational, and then obviously this traditional piece, you're going to see stuff from this line that fits each one of those pieces. And to kind of expand on that, COVID has obviously brought a lot of weird things this year, but the one positive that's come out of COVID is the amount of time that families are spending together and doing activities that they didn't traditionally spend a lot of time doing. So, we weren't playing travel baseball and gymnastics and some of the vacationing stuff, but people were, playing in the backyard and shooting archery. And we had a lot of first time people pick up a bow, whether that was, youth or, first time compound buyers or whatever it was. And so I think that it's really cool to see that this group did an awesome job. And I came in here right as they were headed for home with this new product line. But they've done an awesome job of finding all of those little niche areas where we can continue to grow with these people that have picked up a bow for the first time over the last 6 months. So I'm super pumped to see that.
Absolutely. I'm right in the same boat with you. I've got one who's about to turn 2 tomorrow. I've got one who is about to turn 4 and one who is 8. And through this time, usually I would sneak out and try to go shoot my bow. And now my entire family's outside playing with me while I'm shooting my bow, or my daughter's out shooting with me. And even my son, my 2-year-old, he's just picking up arrows and he'll almost aim down. It's the cutest thing, man. You have to look on my Instagram. There's a picture of it, but he'll look down the arrow like he's aiming and then he'll just chunk it. And so, he's not actually shooting a bow yet, but I understand what you're saying is he's out there and he's experiencing dad shooting and he's experiencing this young love for flying arrows and he wants to emulate it as much as he can. And this product launch, I'm just looking at it. I'm like, man, there's bows that my son can start shooting in like a year and a half, 2 years.
Yep. There's
And
no
so it just
holes.
gets me no holes. And that is that always has been my favorite part of bear archery. Always has been, is that they make something for everyone. Now, that the reason I ask you what you're shooting, because the Status EKO is a fantastic shooter, an absolute tack driver. I love this bow. It is staying in the lineup. It will still be there. The EKO cam is one of the greatest cams that Bear Archery or anybody else has ever designed. And there will be new bows with the EKO cam, so that's not going away. I believe it's been made better. Has that EKO cam been tweaked at all?
Yes, it has. So every time we put it on any bow, the engineering group, we definitely try to tweak it. We're always trying to make sure that, it has the correct valley and everything like that. Of course, you have to spend some extra time when when we actually did the AKO, and we're allowing you to adjust your, draw length, but also allowing you to adjust your let off. It just puts, it's good. It's good for us. Put some more pressure on the engineering to make sure everything lines up perfectly each time. So that way, when you do move it to 85, you're truly getting 85, and you move it to 90, you're truly getting 90. So anytime you put it on any different bow that might have a different axle to axle length, or even brace height, or any variation within that, you rework it. And we wanted the valley to even get a little bit better, so we think we've continued to improve on it. And of course, we're also trying to attack anything that we think we can make better on the bows every time we start. A little bit of our design process is built into, all right, we like the Status, but what's better? What can we make it better?
Yeah, how can we make perfection better? I like that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but that bow, man, I'm telling you, really is good. And that's what I love about product launches, and that's what I love about archery, is every year you get a new bow, and you think, how in the world are they going to get better than this? And then you wait a year, and you're like, well, they did it. Somehow they did it. I had a friend call me the other day, and he says, yeah, this will be the bow that I just stick with forever. And I'm like, yeah, I've been there before. And up until October 1st, you say that. But now there is a new bow coming out that is one of those super adjustable. You can get it for your toddler, and they can shoot it for the rest of their entire life. It is a gorgeous looking bow. That's what some of those bows get me on aesthetics, because I'm like, well, I want to buy this for my wife, but it kind of it's not very appealing. This is a fantastic looking bow. Ryan, what can you tell me about that bow?
So we think the aesthetics of a bow are very, very important. And some of the key things that we try to do there is what you just said, is we want those little guys and gals to be out there and be like, well, I want to shoot a bow like mom and dad, right? So we don't want it to look like a toy or something completely different. We want them to kind of feel the line, so it feels like it works. So that was a big part of this bow build, trying to do that. We also, we want it to feel great from when you're not drawing the bow to when you draw the bow. So, not giving too much detail, but we took a lot of that into account when we were designing this particular bow. That it feels great, balances really well. That's one thing that some people overlook at bow. They just look at, well, the mass weight's X, right? Oh, it's way too heavy. Well, balance matters, right? So we made sure that balances really well, yet not too light that you overpower it or torque it. So lots of work in that bow. And then we really love that type of kind of middle price point, get you into shooting. And I'll add to what John said, this is a great year for that, right? COVID has definitely got more people shooting, maybe, I hope, thinking about hunting also besides just shooting. And this bow, I think, would give you a great experience.
Yeah, and I can already tell you, I'll be getting one for my wife. And I want to do a full video series for our tech tips. I want to do a full video series on getting that bow, getting it set up, and getting it ready for her. That's one of the biggest things I feel like for a new hunter is they get a new bow and then they think, well, now what? And I know for me, when I was first starting out, I would set up a bow be shooting it poorly and be getting frustrated, and I would take it to a mentor or a friend or and they would say, well, son, your draw length's way too long, or you set your poundage a little too high for you and it's messing you up, or your peep sight's a little too high, or whatever it may be. So I just want to walk you through getting a new bow and how to get it set up for a beginner. And so that's what my wife will be shooting. And I want to walk you through that as I get her set up with that. So look forward to that. Before we move on to Bear X, John, what's your first hunt of the year? What do you got planned?
To be honest, man, it's bad. I don't have anything planned right now. So so it's been a busy year, and actually, like I said, crazy. Some of the things that have come out of COVID, but business has been just absolutely booming. And so the good side of that is that business is good, but there's a lot of work to be done. And so just from a timing standpoint, with travel and the new job and kids and the unknown of school and everything, I mean, I'll be hunting whitetail here in the Midwest. I've got a place in Kentucky, and then I've got a really interesting place in Ohio around the Cincinnati area. So I'll spend some time over there, but an actual planned hunt, I don't have anything on the books this year, man. It's kind of sad.
Oh, brother. Well, I'll be keeping you in my prayers, man. No,
You do that for me, right?
We need, we need to get you a planned hunt down here in Kansas, man. You come down here and I'll put you up in a blind or a tree stand and we'll have a good time together.
Would love it. Would absolutely love it.
Ryan's not invited though. He shoots all the big deer, so he can't come.
Yeah, I
No,
wish
I'm
that
just
was
kidding.
the problem.
I'm just kidding. Chris, what's your first hunt of the year?
My first hunt of the year will probably be here in Missouri in September when our season opens on the 15th for whitetails. I have nothing planned but whitetails, and then I'll probably hunt Kansas. That'll be my number one thing, is to hunt Kansas. I'm a big fan of Kansas. I've killed some giants there, and it's pretty hard to keep me out of that state.
Where are you hunting at?
I'll be up near the Fort Scott area.
Okay. Just send me the coordinates to your tree stand and we'll be all good. No,
I'll sure do it, but just make sure you pay off the landowner first, because it may not be the guy that I'm hunting on.
Okay. Well, hey, we'll have to meet up and you'll have to come down here and hunt in southern Kansas with me sometime. Ryan, what's first for you, man?
It'll probably be, I don't want to sound too redundant, but we talked about on last episode is, so muleys, I'm in a really good mule deer area, and my son definitely wants to try to get one with a bow this year. So that's kind of been our focus. That'll probably be the first time I go out pretty hot and heavy, probably more as a guide than a hunter, but I'll be sure to have a bow with me.
Well, I can promise you this. I can promise you that it'll be, and you know this more than anybody, but it'll be more rewarding watching your boy get one than anything you could ever shoot.
That's for sure. Especially,
Yep.
I tend to be the one that's more of a wreck than him. So I don't know when that changes, but
yeah,
it doesn't.
No, I understand that, man. Before we move on and we talk about these crossbows, let me give a quick thank you to some of our friends over at Wise Eye Technology. They make cellular trail cameras, but the difference with Wise Eye is you can open your app and it graphs out everything. You can see your deer movement based off of moon phase, based off of temperature, based off of time of day, and you can see the best times to go and hunt these places. It graphs it all out for you, but also it's got game recognition technology, so I don't have to look through thousands of pictures of coons and does. I can just see what I want to see, and that's the bucks. It's got buck recognition technology, so it'll put all my bucks in different folders, so I can see when those bucks are coming in. And so Wise Eye Technology makes some incredible trail cameras, so go check those guys out. Now let's talk about the new crossbows. Bear X is doing some pretty cool things this year. So what can you tell me about crossbows?
Well, Ryan, this is Chris, or Dylan. This is Chris. On the crossbows, we do have some exciting things coming out. We've got some new technology for bear, if you will, and some bows that are more compact and faster. So that's always a positive. But the one big thing coming out of the Bear X lineup is everybody has contacted us and talked to us about boy, if we could get a crank, if we could do this, we can make it easier to cock this bow and things like that. So just a not going to dive into it too deep because this is a teaser, but keep your eyes open and peeled because there's some exciting things getting ready to happen with Crossbows at Bear.
Yeah, and this crossbow lineup looks really impressive. I'll just say that. I got excited about it. I bought my dad his first crossbow last Christmas, I believe. Yeah, last Christmas. And he got to the point with his shoulders where he couldn't pull a bow back anymore, and so we bought him a constrictor, and he absolutely loves this thing. It's his favorite thing ever. But these new bows coming out, I absolutely cannot wait for you guys to see these. I can't wait for you to hear some of the speeds on them. I can't wait for you to see some of the specs on them. They are absolutely a work of art. So good job on the crossbows. Is there any other kind of information we can give on crossbows, or?
That's pretty much the lineup for Crossbows on for the 2021 launch. The one thing I will say is the Constrictor and the Intense bows will of course still be in our lineup. They've done well for us. They're a good bow. They're going to continue to do well. But I think these new bows are going to be looked at and reviewed as that next step up for Bear.
Yeah,
along with some of the
agree with that.
technology we're putting into it.
I truly believe. Now, I haven't got to shoot these bows yet, but looking at the design, looking at the specs, I truly believe that these crossbows will compete with any other crossbow on the market. I believe that. Just they look incredible. The specs are incredible, and I truly believe that these will compete with anybody. Now, on to Trophy Ridge. If there's one thing better than picking out a bow, it's what are you going to put on that bow? And we've got some big things coming from Trophy Ridge. Some big things. Some things that you would have never expected to come from Trophy Ridge. And some things that I believe will become the industry standard. So what can you tell me about Trophy Ridge this year?
Yeah, we think there's some good things coming. So some expansion to the sight line, and that we're pretty excited about. So just some different variations. React is huge to us. We still believe the more and more people discover that, time is still important to all of us, right? So when you can sight in 2 pins and then have the rest done and just be mathematically perfect, hard not to take advantage of that, right? So we continue to expand that. And then the other thing that's really important to us is just the overall quality of Trophy Ridge. Very important to us, right? So when we find ways that we can help make the whole line better, particularly on the sight side for this year, we do it. So there's going to just be some things that'll just make your experience using our site so much better than in years past. So we're very excited about that.
Now, let me just say this. Trophy Ridge this year is going to become your one-stop shop for any accessories you need. Any accessories. Trophy Ridge, for a long time, has made some of the finest accessories for your bow. And this year, they are stepping up their game and becoming a one-stop shop for any accessories you need. So they are expanding their line in such a way where no matter what you need, they've got it. So I am incredibly excited about what Trophy Ridge is offering. John, what rest are you shooting on your bow?
So I am shooting a just standard Whisker Biscuit right now, but getting ready to put on one of these new V Biscuits. So to be honest with you, it's funny because I always told guys that even though I didn't work for Bear, I probably sold more Whisker Biscuits in my career in archery than any single sales rep on the road.
Well, hold on then. Sell me on it right now. Sell me on a Whisker Biscuit.
I mean, it's one of those things that, especially if you're taking extreme hunts, I mean, I don't care if it's out west, if it's Alaska, it's Africa. I don't care what it is. The thing about a Whisker Biscuit is it's less to screw up. And I say that from a standpoint of yes, do drop aways have their place? Absolutely. Are some guys, anti Whisker Biscuit, anti drop away? Are there features and benefits of both? Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to a hunting rest that is safe, it's dependable, and it's consistent, I don't think anything touches. I mean, think about when we were all younger and got started, and TM hunters and that style. I mean, they were consistent because they didn't move, but they weren't exactly safe. They weren't
No.
contained. And so now look at the Whisker Biscuit and tell me another rest that is, like I said, safer no matter what the age you're dealing with, whether you're upside down, backwards, you're crawling, you're climbing a tree, inclement weather, whatever it is, it's going to function. It's going to function every time. It's safe and it's just effective. And in the price involved as well. You don't have to spend $175 to put a rest on a bow.
Now,
So I mean,
do you think,
it's the best.
in your infinite knowledge of Whisker Biscuits, do you think that if I put on the Sync MD, which is the drop away rest from Trophy Ridge, if I put on the Sync MD versus a Sure Shot Pro, and I step out to 100 yards, do you think there's any I'll be able to tell any difference?
So I will say this: I don't think you're going to be able to tell any difference. I think that when Whisker Biscuits first came out and Carolina Archery had them and Bear acquired them and they had that stiffer bristle, you saw the downside to biscuits that time were they were tougher on veins, obviously, right? Because it was a stiffer bristle, so they were a little rough on veins, and there was a speed effectiveness a little bit there. But when Bear took that product, made it better, softened the bristles, did all of the improvements to that rest, guys still held on to that mentality of, oh, Whisker Biscuit's going to cost you 15 feet a second. It's going to tear up your air or your veins. It's a bunch of baloney. The distance and accuracy issues are not there. The speed side, I mean, even the testing we used to do on high performance bows, we saw 3 to 4 feet a second max, even with 3 and 4 inch vanes. So I don't think as a shooter you're going to see those accuracy and speed issues, especially when you're dealing with the normal yardage and distance that most people are. So
now,
I'm a big fan of it.
I'm a 4-fletch guy. I love 4-fletch.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that will be too much affected throwing on that fourth vein with a Whisker Biscuit?
Still, I mean, when you factor in the whole thing, okay, let's say it's a 3 foot per second difference just because of that friction on the vanes on a 3 vane. So what do you add, another foot for that other vane? Let's call it that. Of all the things you put on a bow and we strap on silence.
It might have dropped him, but I can add on to it too, because there's been some other things that have changed too. So 4-fletch, I definitely a regular Whisker Biscuit versus a V. Usually, if not, I'm a big fan of the like the VCon, the V Plus, our new V biscuits, which even have less effect to the arrow. So everything John said was 100% accurate. A lot of people said that it was the resistance slowed it down. In our testing, it's 2 to 3 feet and sometimes less. And a lot of that's based on vane technology has changed a lot also, right? Which isn't us. I mean, I'd love to take responsibility from it. So you can credit Bear Archery for that all you want. But obviously, Boeing and so many other great companies have adjusted, the length of the vane and the plastic that they're using and everything else too that has worked out great for the biscuits. But the V biscuit even has less friction. So again, do you see a difference at a longer distance? Not really, because you're barely slowing it down and you had already adjusted for that in your sight. So we just really, and to John's point, more things can go wrong with the drop away than a complete capture. Not saying that either way is different. Kind of back to what I was saying before is we'll give you the option. I mean, there's not one right bow for everybody. There's not one right rest either. So that's why we have that full line.
Yeah. I'll piggyback off of what Ryan said too, just real quick, that I was a big drop away fan for a long, long time. Shot a Whisker Biscuit early on, had some problems early on. Went back to a Whisker Biscuit once I started working for Bear, and I'll never go a different direction. And I take some pretty extreme hunts. I've been to Alaska. I've been all over the United States and elk hunted multiple times and no failures, and have killed a pile of game with a Whisker Biscuit since then. And I shoot out to 80 yards on a consistent basis with broadheads. If you've got good form and you can shoot, I don't think you'll see that there's a big difference in your accuracy. I mean, it'd be tough for me to argue that.
Now I'm really glad we dove into this, because as I was looking through this catalog, I came across the Whisker Biscuits. Now, obviously, I've shot Whisker Biscuits before. That's what I started off with. That's what I'll put on my kids and my wife's bows. But as I grew as an archer, I thought to myself, well, you have to shoot a fall away. That's what everybody shoots. You have to. And this year, and I'm not saying it has anything to do with the Sync MD. It's not Trophy Ridge's fault. It was a drop away fault. I had 2 times where I had to completely retune and reset up my bow because I had drop away issues. And I got stinking tired of it. And so today when I was looking through this catalog, I got to the Whisker Biscuit section and I thought to myself, I'm switching to a Whisker Biscuit. There's no reason not to. And so on my next 2021 bow, I will be shooting a Whisker Biscuit. Now, is there a huge difference? Is there a huge difference in the V series, the V Max, and the Sure Shot Pro? Is there a huge difference, or is it really just design, aesthetics, and looks?
Well, of course, there's huge difference in the design and the aesthetics because it's completely different. But yes, I would say there's what I'm gonna say is a huge difference is. So like a Sure Shot is your traditional round biscuit, right? So the way that's gonna hold your arrow is more like, I like to think of it as a U, right? So you put your arrow in that circle, and the top part of the arrow isn't touching the circle, but the bottom is, right? So it's just surface. So now I'm sounding like one of my engineers, but I'm clearly not an engineer. So there's more surface touching the bristles, right? And this is actually why when we send like out a VCon or a V-biscuit, we actually put like a straw in there so the customer can actually see what your arrow looks like in there, because it's a triangle or a V, right? Well, your arrow is only making contact on the right and left side. So the amount of surface contact your arrow is making on the bristles is greatly reduced versus our original Whisker Biscuit design. Both great, but even just takes more of that resistance away, so to say, when you actually shoot the arrow.
So, with that being the V design, does that play a huge role, and would that make a huge difference in a 4-fletch versus a traditional 3-fletch?
It could. I definitely, if I was shooting a 4-fletch, I think you're probably still better with like a Sure Shot. But if it's a 3-fletch, I would go a V without a doubt. I'm shooting VCons on a couple different bows. I think we've talked about in different episodes. I'm the bow guy, so I kind of need to spread the love around and not just shoot one of my favorite bows. Got to shoot kind of a little bit of everything. So, but currently the VCon's kind of the staple on most of them right now. There's a sync on a couple of them. So, but I'm not really seeing too much difference. I will say, just maybe luck of the bow. It didn't take me very long at all to tune broadheads on either, but it's so simple with a capture. So just works out pretty easily when you're trying to tune stuff like that, especially when you have micro adjusts.
Yeah, and I think I'm sold on it, and I think that's what I'm gonna go with this year. And I told myself that last year, but again, I just have that horrible habit of thinking I got to shoot a drop away. You know, that's the standard, quote unquote, the standard. And really, I had a guy on the show one time, and he was telling me his setup's one of the most known bow hunters in the world. I mean, just a big buck killing machine. And he told me he shot a Whisker Biscuit, and I was just like, "Yep, I'm going to a Whisker Biscuit. You said it, I'm doing it." But still, when I came to order, it was just like, I got to get the Sync MD. But this year, after facing the troubles I have with the Sync, and I'm not saying anything about dropaways. If you shoot a dropaway, that's fine. I've shot a dropaway now for the better part of 9 years without ever looking at a Whisker Biscuit. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the dropaways. I just personally have come to the place where I believe I'm going to make the switch back to a Whisker Biscuit, much like Chris said he did. And just here's what I love about archery. We can keep it simple. And sometimes we way too try to overcomplicate archery and bow hunting. And so I'm trying to keep everything simple and just bring it back to that simplicity and that love of shooting my bow. And so for me, a rest, a drop away rest, going back to the simplicity of a Whisker Biscuit is just one more of those things that I can take off the moving mechanisms and make it simple again. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back to a Whisker Biscuit. I think we've covered pretty much all the teasing part of Trophy Ridge, but I do, however, want to talk about the hot wire. Give me the rundown on the hot wire.
Just the sight overall.
Yeah, just the functionality of it, how it works, what it does. It was a great site release last year. So give us kind of the details on that site.
All right. So what we were thinking there is it does a good job of kind of bridging the gap depending on where you're going to hunt, right? So it's got 2 set pins. So, the traditional guy would do like a 20 yard and a 30 yard. And then the bottom pin is what we refer to as like a floating pin, right? So it's got a pretty easy to adjust knob on the top of the housing. And of course it comes with side tape. So then you can use that to be whatever you want. So of course, you start at 40, then you can make marks out to, 30, 40, 50, as long as you, depending on how fast your bow is, quite a ways out there until you run out of real estate. So what we've seen I'm in Nebraska right now. So I like to bring that up and even Kansas. I mean, there's places nowadays where guy can be hunting in a tree stand and 20 yards is your max just because of density and things like that, right? And then next thing you know, you go a mile down the road, or you're hunting the field, and next thing you know, you're opened it up to 30, 40 yards, right? And so this allows you with that bottom pin to adjust it however you want. And then a lot of it, shooting 3Ds and doing fun things like we just talked about in the backyard. I mean, a lot of us practice at 60, 80 yards. That way 20 and 30 feels so much easier.
Yep.
Yeah. And so what would be the main difference in functionality of the hot wire versus the React Trio? Because technically you still have that bottom pin floater. So why would one choose one over the other?
So the hot wire doesn't have React technology in it. So it's completely on you, which is fine. You brought up like some people like to make it pretty simple. Well, that's pretty simple. It's just your standard way of putting, sighting in a sight, right? So you're completely however you want to do it to adjust it versus a React like on the Trio, it's going to do it for you. So different price points, of course. So a Trio is a little bit more. A hot wire is in that suggested retail of like 170. So opens up that type of sight to a wider audience.
Now, on the hot wire, the entire housing doesn't move, correct?
Yes, correct. It doesn't. Versus on a Trio,
right?
A Trio, the whole housing would move.
Now, what's the main differences there? Would that change much on your sight picture? Because with the Trio, what I love is whether I'm shooting at 40 or whether I'm shooting at 100, my sight picture is the exact same. So do you find that being an issue at all with the hot wire?
No, because the housing size, they're both very similar. But on the hot wire, it basically is like having, I'm going to say, a 7-pin sight or even like a 5-pin sight with just having 3 pins. So we've seen some people really like it when they're managing bow weights. Some of us are a lot more picky than others, counting ounces and half ounces of bow weight, which is great and fine, depending on however you're hunting for an animal, right? So that's where that bow helps you a little bit different. I personally like the Trio as well, and of course I'm a React fan technology, but like I said, there's about $100 difference in between the two. It does keep that the whole housing moves down, so that stays the same versus I'm just giving you pins
Right.
and the hot wire.
I gotcha. That was one more thing. I've been shooting the Trio. Here's what I did. I made myself a hybrid sight. I took off the housing from the Trio. I took off the head from the Trio, and I took off a head from a React 1 Pro dovetail, and I put on the Trio on the dovetail. So now I have a dovetail 3-pin slider. And I've been shooting that for I guess this is my 3rd year shooting that, and I'm really considering trying the hot wire. It just looks like a good sight, so I'm really considering that. So I just wanted to kind of pick your brain on that just a little bit. Now, I'll say this about the Trophy Ridge lineup this year as well. Everything else that we've come to love from Trophy Ridge will still be there. The Hexlite quiver, which is one of the greatest quivers ever, is still in the lineup. The Hitman stabilizers, which is just again absolutely incredible. Those 2 additions to Trophy Ridge were game changers for me. I love the quick disconnect, the sidebar system with the Hitmans. I love the functionality of the Hexlite quiver, being able to get it as tight into your bow as you can. And having those lights built in is just a bonus. I was always a tight spot guy up until the release of that Hexlite, and it functions exactly like a tight spot, but it has more features built into it. So it's a win-win quiver. So all of those products will still be there, but again, they're just expanding that line in such a way where they can be your one-stop shop for all archery accessories. Sick Rocket. We got anything new coming from Sick and Rocket?
Not this year. We're staying with the same lineup that we've had since last year. So, with Broadhead, sometimes when you do something really, really good, it's hard to improve on it. It takes a little longer to get to that next level. But just a little shout out, if no one knows, Sick, the SK2 Sick expandable head did win the Field and Stream Award for both compound and crossbow as the best new broadhead on the market.
This broadhead here, what you just said, why even try to change it? Why ever try to change a broadhead that performs so stinking well? I shot so when I was deciding what broadhead to use, I leave this is Tuesday. I leave on Thursday for a bear hunt. And I was trying to decide which broadhead to use. And I took out, oh Lord, I had the SK2, the F4, the F3. I had a Meat Seeker. I had some Steelheads, which was one of my favorite broadheads ever made. Yeah, those were the broadheads I took out. And I shot for days. And the SK2 performed better than any broadhead that I shot. It was just a stinking phenomenal shooting broadhead. Now, beyond its ability to shoot, it's flawless in design because it has to open. That was one of my biggest things. I'm a fixed blade broadhead guy. If you would have told me this year I'd be shooting an expandable, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But it's flawless. It has to open. It can't fail. It is a fantastically designed broadhead. It flies amazing. Can I tell you, as open and honest as I can about this broadhead, the one thing I don't like about it?
Of course.
If I make you mad, if I make you mad, just forgive me, okay? The one thing that makes me mad about this, I wish it came with a practice head. Only because I hate having to shoot it, unscrew it, put another red clip on, and shoot again. That's the only thing. and that's a minute issue, because the
I get
broadhead,
it.
again, the broadhead still performs flawlessly. It performs amazing, but and that is the thing about the red clip, is what do we call that? The flight lock? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it's patented flight lock clip.
Yes, the flight lock clip. I love the design of it. I hate those stupid little rubber bands that go on some expandables. I hate that. So although it does take me a second to change it out, I'm super happy that it works the way it does. So I'll take having to sit there and put a new red clip on over a failed broadhead any day of the stinking week. So it's a very small problem, but I do think in the upcoming years it would be incredible to have a practice head for that broadhead. So I hope I didn't upset you too much there. I hope you'll forgive me.
No, not a problem.
Anything new from Cajun?
No, we have nothing new from Cajun this year. I'll just we went through the last couple years and just really tried to tie the line together and get everything that we really felt like it needed to offer at this moment in time available. And I think we've done that, and we've got a pretty great lineup overall. Cajun seems to be continuing to grow and doing well. The bow fishing market continues to grow and do well. And I think this year we probably saw a little bit more longevity in bow fishing than what we had in the years past, as far as people still out enjoying it and shooting fish. Usually we see kind of a slowdown about first part of August, but it seems like it's extended itself quite nicely.
Yeah, and we also, man, I get text messages all the time from some of my buddies shooting Cajun bow fishing, and just rave about this. Now, I did just get my first bow fishing rig, and I cannot wait to get out and get started. See, I grew up in Arkansas. I grew up with a bunch of silly rednecks who love to go out and shoot fish, but it was just something I never got into. I just didn't. Not saying it wouldn't be a blast. Not saying it wouldn't be fun. But I just got my first one, and I have all my friends texting me talking about how awesome these bows are and talking about how awesome the systems are from Cajun bow fishing. So I can't wait to get out and start enjoying bow fishing. And I've actually got a friend up in Evansville who is going to take me on my first bow fishing trip. So I can't wait to give it a shot, man, and dive into that sport and get into that. Bear Archery also this year has some new awesome looking apparel coming out, some new what do you call it, just like branded accessories that'll be pretty cool. I'm all about supporting the brands that I love. 9 times out of 10 you see me in public, I'm gonna be wearing like a Bear Archery shirt, a Mossy Oak shirt, stickers on my truck, whatever. I'm all about supporting the brands I love. And I know there are diehard guys out there who are Bear Archery to the core. And so we've got some cool products coming out where you'll be able to represent Bear Archery. So I'm excited about those things coming out this year. Now, before I have you guys tell me a couple deer hunting stories, I have to make one of the biggest announcements that I have ever got the pleasure of making. We are going to be doing a huge giveaway from the Hunting 101 podcast. We're going to be giving away. Now, the day you listen to this episode will be on the 23rd. So the day you listen to this episode, the giveaway is live. We're going to be giving away one of our brand new 2021 bows, one of those bows we just teased you with, and we'll announce which bow we're going to be giving away on our next episode, where we actually dive into all the logistics of these new bows and after they've been released. But we're going to be giving away a brand new 2021 bow that is fully set up with all Trophy Ridge accessories. You're getting a full setup, and this will not be a midline bow. This will be a top-of-the-line flagship bow from Bear Archery, fully decked out and set up for you. You're going to be getting an Alps Traverse pack from Alps Outdoors, which is one of my favorite companies in the world. Alps Outdoors is going to be giving you a Traverse EPS pack. We will also be giving you a Radial Nano from Oz by ScentLock. The Radial Nano is a portable ozone generator, and it is one of my absolute favorite products. I carry this everywhere with me that I go. I'll throw it in my tote. I'll throw it in my bag. I'll put it in my whole entire hunting closet, the night before a hunt, and put my backpack, my boots, my bow, everything in there. I'll put it in my truck the night before I leave and run a cycle in my truck. It's got 4 different operating modes. It's got a regular mode, a cycle mode, a boosted mode, and then a boosted cycle mode. So the Oz Radial Nano will also be a part of the giveaway. You will get an Onyx Elite membership with some Onyx swag, some t-shirts and some hats from Onyx, and I'm going to give you a $150 gift card to Minus 33 Merino Wool. Minus 33 produces some of the finest merino on planet Earth, and I'm going to give you $150 to spend at Minus 33. So a brand new bow fully set up, a brand new pack, an Onyx Elite membership, and a Minus 33 $150 gift card to use on their website. I can't even begin to tell you how much this giveaway is worth. But there's 4 ways to enter. You can have 4 entries into this giveaway. You have to subscribe to this podcast, first and foremost, on any platform. So on Spotify, on iTunes, on Google Play, on Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit the subscribe button to this podcast. That gets you 1 entry. Hit subscribe on Bear Archery's YouTube channel. That gets you an entry, which the podcast is also on YouTube, so you can listen to the podcast on YouTube. You can like and share the post on Facebook using hashtag Bear Archery when you share the post, the giveaway post. And then you can like and follow and tag on Instagram. 4 entries, 4 chances to win, 5 awesome prizes. So guys, make sure and get entered to win this. But first and foremost, you must subscribe to this podcast from whatever platform you listen to it on or on YouTube. So 4 ways to enter. You can have 4 entries to win this incredible, incredible giveaway. The cutoff date for the giveaway will be November 14th, and we will announce the winner in the episode on November 18th. So make sure and tune into the episode on November 18th to hear if you won these 5 awesome prizes from 5 of our good friends. Now, I hope that one of you two don't win that, because then you're gonna have to share it with me.
I didn't know we were qualified, or we were qualified to get in on it. If I'd have known that, I'd be in on it immediately.
Well,
I've already entered. Plus, everybody in my house, the kids are entered now too.
there
oh
you go.
My gosh,
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, I told my wife you better subscribe to this. She said, no, I'd rather not.
Yeah, she needs to do that for you.
Yeah. No. Well, before we bolt out of here, gentlemen, I want you to share with me a fun deer hunting story you got for me.
Oh, we don't have that kind of time.
I'm sure you can think of one.
That can get difficult, can't it?
A fun deer hunting story, where things actually went right.
Well, it doesn't have to be the case. Sometimes some of the funnest ones are when you fall flat on your back and things go wrong.
No, I've been very blessed and had so many really good hunts over the years, and probably the most memorable hunt that and this was not even a bow hunt, but I have to make mention of it because it was with my son, and he had he's right now going to hopefully get him into shooting a crossbow this fall, but he's a little bit kind of weirded out by it, but that is what it is. But a couple of years ago, I killed a really old deer right off the bat in October. 8.5-year-old 6-pointer, actually 7-pointer, small 7th point, and I know how old he was. Tracked, had lots of pictures and stuff, and had another target deer, and I took my son in on him the last weekend in October, and I knew he was a really good deer, and just didn't know whether we'd have an opportunity, and time was going to get away from us. So I figured he was going to start rutting heavy, and who knows where he would go at that point. But ended up the first morning of the youth season, the deer came through, the very first deer to come through, going back to bed. I'm supposing he was going back to bed, and he cracked him and killed his first really good buck, and he was 157 and some change. So that's probably the highlight of my hunting career when it comes to a deer story. That's going to be hard to top no matter what I do.
Now, when was that?
That was 2 years ago.
That's awesome, man. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you got for us?
I've got one that happened very early season, which I'm looking out my window and it makes me think of um, deer actually opened today in Nebraska. So
Oh, wow.
I did not go out, but we opened very early. So lots of times you get to go out when things are still really green and, the mosquitoes and all the other fun things are still out and about, right? Um, but it's fun to hunt in those different environments. So I can remember a few years back, um, getting off work a couple hours early. I remember leaving about 3, thinking, all right, I'm going to go ahead, and I've been getting some really steady pictures of some deer walking down this trail, kind of almost, they're coming from a cornfield kind of across this pasture land into this grove of trees that I was hunting in. And I didn't expect there to be much of a chance that night, but I knew I wanted to change some cards and do a couple things like that, and was like, I'll throw the bow in just in case. What's it hurt to sit and see how things are moving, right? The wind was right. So decided I would do that. And it was one of those magical times where everything just kind of worked out. So it took me a little longer to adjust the cameras and things that I wanted to before I could get in the stand. But I remember it was about like 5:05. I got in the stand and it was crazy hot. So we're talking t-shirts. Probably could have had shorts on if I had had them with me. I didn't, but it would have been wonderful too. I remember how hot it was, and thinking, man, they're gonna smell me. Like, it's just tough. And anyway, up there, it wasn't. I remember. I want to say it was like 5:17. I know it was right in there. I had 2 does come by and was like, wow, maybe I will see something. And then right then I had really, it was really early, so I was a little surprised, but a pretty good buck that I'd been seeing come by, and he was posturing pretty well. And I was like, wow. Anyway, he came right by and everything worked out great. So I literally, my archery deer season, or at least for my first tag, took all of, I think, 35 minutes. And it doesn't usually work out that way, but it was super fun, and it was one of those that just worked out early season for me.
Everything came together. Yeah, one time I headed out to go on a hunt, and I know I've told this story on the podcast before, but one time I headed out on a hunt, and I was going to be at this outfitter for about a week, and it was Halloween. I got there on Halloween, the day before Halloween. So my wife was already bummed out. She was like, "Well, we've got kids. You're not even going to be here with them on Halloween." So she was already bummed out that I was missing Halloween. And first morning of this hunt, I had a what would have been the biggest deer that I had shot at that point come in to 17 yards. I'm talking first light. I grunted and he came in, and it was actually so early in the morning I had to wait for camera light. And so I waited for camera light. I shot this deer. I called my wife about 9 o'clock after I recovered, and I said, "Hey, I'll be home in a few hours." And she was like, "What?" I thought and so it was just really cool to get to come home, and I still made Halloween with my family. And she thought I was gonna be gone for a week, and I was gone for like 8 hours. So really cool that it all came together that quick. But guys, let me tell you this before we go. I am stoked about 2021 for Bear Archery Trophy Ridge, and especially Bear Archery's traditional line. I am stoked. So guys, good job. I can't wait for the public to lay eyes on this, because it is just going to be a stellar year, and I cannot wait to start shooting these bows. I say I'm excited about Bear Archery's traditional line. So let me give a quick shout out to Three Rivers Archery. They're your longbow and recurve experts. They're good friends of ours at Bear Archery and with our show. They have fast same-day shipping. They are absolutely number one in customer service, the best people in the world to deal with. They're the world's largest supplier of traditional and primitive archery gear, which is why they can ship things out to you same day. They are the best source, in my opinion, for answering all your traditional archery questions. Now, if you're like me and you're just now breaking into the world of recurves and longbows, I've been using them a ton. I'll call them and pick their brains on everything from arrow weights to broadheads to string care, everything. They're your number one source for answering questions. Check them out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Guys, Three Rivers Archery is absolutely incredible, and they are, with Bear Archery being so involved in traditional archery, they are just really good friends of ours. So go check out Three Rivers Archery's website, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Again, I cannot wait for this launch. Make sure and tune in to our next episode where we actually get to unveil names, images, details, specs, and really dive into the details of these bows, because they are going to be flat out performers. Guys, thank you for listening. You guys have a great week and good luck this fall.
Thanks a bunch.